The moment you cast off the lines is always a mix of raw excitement and a healthy dose of fear. Leaving Cape Town, South Africa, was no different. The majestic Table Mountain, a landmark that had watched over me for weeks, began to shrink behind my stern. This wasn't just another departure, it was the beginning of a massive solo leg, a true test of nerve and skill pushing north up the vast, unpredictable Atlantic Ocean. The ultimate goal was home, but the immediate challenge was a lonely island steeped in history. My trusty vessel, White Shadow, felt alive beneath my feet, eager to bite into the open sea. The air was thick with the scent of salt and the promise of adventure, a feeling that never gets old. It's in these moments you feel most alive, when you're entirely responsible for your own survival. My friends, a true band of brothers, weren't going to let me slip away unnoticed. They powered up alongside me in their own boat, a fantastic show of support that meant the world to me out there. We sailed together for a while, their laughter and shouts of encouragement echoing across the water, a stark contrast to the solitude that lay ahead. They escorted me nearly as far as Robben Island, that infamous piece of land sitting stoically in the bay. It was a powerful, emotional send-off. Seeing their boat eventually turn back, shrinking into a dot against the coastline, was the final, definitive severing of the tie to land. The umbilical cord was cut. From that point on, it was just me, my boat, and the immense, sprawling blue of the Atlantic. The feeling of complete self-reliance is one of the most powerful things a human can experience. Out here, there's no backup, no cavalry coming over the hill. You are the captain, the engineer, the medic, and the cook. Every decision, from the trim of a sail to the rationing of water, rests squarely on your shoulders. It's a weight that can crush you or forge you into something stronger. As the South African coast dissolved into a hazy line on the horizon, a profound sense of peace settled over me. This is where I thrive, where the noise of the modern world fades away and the primal rhythm of the planet takes over. The journey had begun, and I was ready for whatever the ocean decided to throw at me. My vessel for this epic undertaking is White Shadow, a custom-built Van de Stad Seal 36. She's not just a boat, she's my partner in this adventure, a fortress of steel built in 2004 with a classic round-bilge design. At 11 meters long, she's small enough for one person to handle, but tough enough to take on the world's biggest oceans. I trust her with my life, and she has never let me down. To document this incredible journey, I've armed myself with a whole arsenal of cameras. Media. Group. Cameras laid out on boat table, sailor preparing camera gear on deck of stock distribute equally, a Canon R50 as my primary shooter, a trusty Canon 200D for backup, and a host of action cameras like the Insta 360 Ace II and DJI gimbal cam to capture every angle of the struggle and the triumph. This story needed to be told, and I had the tools to tell it. The destination wasn't just a random pin on a map. My course was set for St. Helena, a tiny remote volcanic outpost in the middle of the South Atlantic. This island has always held a special mystique for me, a place that has been calling out across the waves for years. It's a name that echoes with history, isolation, and tales of exile. For a sailor, reaching a place so profoundly cut off from the rest of the world is a pilgrimage. It's not a destination you stumble upon. It's a place you have to earn, fighting wind and wave for hundreds of miles. The very idea of standing on its shores, a place I had only read about in books, filled me with a deep sense of purpose. The historical significance of St. Helena is immense. This is the island where Napoleon Bonaparte spent his final days, a prisoner on a rock in the middle of nowhere. To visit the place where one of history's most formidable figures was finally contained by geography is a powerful thought. I imagined walking the same paths, breathing the same air, and looking out at the same relentless ocean that must have felt like the walls of his prison. It's a connection to the past that you just can't get from a documentary or a history book. You have to be there, to feel the isolation in your bones, to truly understand the essence of the place. That's what was driving me forward. Beyond the history, there's the pure challenge of the navigation. St. Helena is a mere speck in an enormous ocean, a target that requires precise seamanship to hit. Finding it after a long, solo passage is a testament to the skills you've honed over years of sailing. It's a rite rite of passage. In the days before GPS, sailors would have relied solely on sextants and celestial navigation, their hearts pounding as they searched the horizon for that first glimpse of land. Even with modern technology, the feeling of accomplishment upon arrival is huge. It's a validation of your ability to cross a massive, empty expanse of water and arrive safely at a predetermined point. The island represents a successful conquest of the sea. As I sailed north from Cape Town, every nautical mile clicked over on the log brought me closer to this personal goal. The thought of St. Helena was a constant companion, a beacon in my mind that kept my spirits high during the tough moments. It was more than just a stopover on my way home, it was a key chapter in my circumnavigation, a personal Everest of the sea. The anticipation was a powerful fuel, pushing me through the lonely nights and the challenging weather. The island wasn't just a destination, it was a symbol of perseverance, of history, and of the wild, untamable spirit of exploration that lives in the heart of every true adventurer. The ocean doesn't wait long to remind you who's in charge. Shortly after my friends waved their final goodbyes, White Shadow sailed into the notorious wind shadow of Robben Island. The wind, which had been so cooperative just moments before, simply vanished. The sails slatted uselessly, and the boat began to wallow in the gentle swell. It's a frustrating start, a reminder that nature operates on its own schedule. The first morning at sea dawned not with a spectacular sunrise, but with a thick, disorienting blanket of fog. The world shrank to a few hundred feet around my boat. The silence was absolute, broken only by the drip of condensation from the rigging and the mournful blast of my foghorn. It's an eerie feeling being suspended in a gray void, completely blind. This initial calm, however, was just the prelude, the deep breath before the plunge. The Atlantic wasn't going to let me have an easy ride. As the fog eventually burned off, the weather began to turn. The sky darkened, and the sea's surface, which had been so placid, started to show its teeth. Rain squalls began to sweep across the deck, coming in fast and furious. These weren't gentle showers, they were cold, wind-driven blasts that soaked everything in seconds. The temperature dropped, and the comfortable conditions of the departure were now a distant memory. I had to scramble into my full set of foul weather gear, a second skin that becomes your best friend in these conditions. Then came the swell. The true Atlantic swell is something to behold. It's not like the choppy waves you get near the coast. These are massive, rolling mountains of water, born from storms hundreds of miles away. They have immense power and a long, rhythmic period. White Shadow began to climb up the face of these liquid giants, pausing for a moment at the crest with a view of a chaotic, watery world, before surfing down the other side into the trough. Life on board becomes a constant battle for balance. Every simple task, from making a cup of tea to plotting a course, becomes a major physical effort. You have to brace yourself constantly, moving with the rhythm of the boat to avoid being thrown around. The psychological challenge in these early days is immense. You've just left the safety and comfort of land, and you're immediately thrown into a hostile environment. It's a test of your resolve. Doubt can creep in, but this is what you train for. You have to trust your boat, trust your skills, and keep a level head. The key to survival out here is staying ahead of the weather, anticipating the changes, and preparing the boat and yourself for what's coming. The nasty weather wasn't a surprise, it was an inevitability. It was the Atlantic's way of welcoming me back, a brutal but honest handshake to start our long dance together. In the vast emptiness of the open ocean, you can feel utterly alone, but you never are. One of the greatest dangers out here isn't the weather, it's other ships. The piercing shriek of the AIS collision alarm jolted me from a light sleep in the dead of night. My heart hammered against my ribs. An alarm like that means one thing: something big is close, and it's on a collision course. I scrambled to the chart plotter, my eyes trying to make sense of the data in the dim red light of the cabin. The screen showed a massive target, identified as the motor vessel Franklin, directly behind me, closing fast. On our current courses, we were going to occupy the same piece of ocean at the same time. Panic is a luxury you can't afford. In a situation like this, you have to act, and act fast. My boat, White Shadow, was under sail, which meant my ability to maneuver quickly was limited. A huge motor vessel, on the other hand, can be slow to turn. The screen showed its speed and course, confirming my worst fears. It was gaining on me rapidly, a ghost in the darkness, its crew likely unaware of my tiny sailboat bobbing in the waves ahead. In these moments, technology is your lifeline. I grabbed the VHF radio microphone, my hand steady despite the adrenaline coursing through my veins. Time was running out. I had to make contact before the situation became critical. Motor Vessel Franklin. Motor Vessel Franklin. Motor Vessel Franklin. This is sailing vessel White Shadow. White Shadow. My voice cut through the static, a tiny plea sent out into the vast dark night. You wait, your breath held, hoping someone is listening. After a few tense seconds that felt like an eternity, a calm, professional voice crackled back over the speaker. The captain of the Franklin had heard me. I quickly explained my situation, using the formal language of the sea. I am a sailing boat with limited ability for maneuver. This phrase is crucial. It tells the other vessel that the primary responsibility to avoid a collision falls on them. The relief that washed over me when the captain responded was immense. Understood, White Shadow, he said. We see you on our radar. We will alter our course to starboard and pass on your starboard side. I watched on my screen as the massive ship's icon slowly began to change its vector, its projected path now clearing my stern by a safe margin. A few minutes later, I saw its lights appear on the horizon, a city of illumination that passed by in the darkness, its powerful engines a low rumble that I could feel through my hull. It was a stark reminder of the hidden dangers of the sea and the critical importance of communication and vigilance. A potential disaster had been averted with a calm conversation. The ocean is a relentless opponent. It's always got another punch ready to throw. By day 5, as I was sailing off the desolate coast of Namibia, the weather forecast confirmed my suspicions. A proper storm was brewing. The predictions were for sustained winds of up to 30 knots, with much higher gusts. This isn't just a bit of a breeze, this is a force that can tear sails, snap rigging, and push a boat to its breaking point. When you see a forecast like that, you don't wait for the storm to hit. You prepare. Survival is all about preparation. I spent hours on deck, getting White Shadow ready for the fight that was coming. My first priority was to reduce sail area, a tactic known as reefing. Going into a storm with too much canvas up is a recipe for disaster. I decided to take down the mainsail completely, stowing it securely under its sail cover and lashing it to the boom. Relying on the mainsail in these conditions is risky. If the wind gets behind it unexpectedly during a big wave, the boom can slam across with incredible force. Instead, I would rely solely on a tiny sliver of my foresail, the jib. This gives you just enough forward momentum to maintain steerage and control in the big waves without being overpowered by the ferocious wind. It's about finding the balance between control and vulnerability. With the sails sorted, the next job was to secure everything on deck. Anything loose becomes a potential missile in a storm. I double-checked every line, every hatch, and every piece of equipment, making sure it was lashed down tight. Inside the cabin, I did the same, stowing books, charts, and cooking gear so they wouldn't fly across the boat with every violent roll. You have to think ahead, imagining the worst-case scenario and preparing for it. A clean, organized boat is a safe boat. Once everything was battened down, there was nothing left to do but wait for the storm's arrival and trust in the preparations I had made. When the storm finally hit, it was with a primal fury. The sea transformed into a chaotic mess of white water and spray. The wind howled through the rigging with a sound like a freight train, a constant, deafening roar. The sea became incredibly raleigh, with waves coming from multiple directions, making the motion of the boat violent and unpredictable. White Shadow was being thrown around like a toy, but she was handling it. Her strong steel hull and my careful preparations were paying off. I wedged myself into the cockpit, tethered securely, and steered through the maelstrom, my knuckles white on the tiller. It was a brutal, exhausting battle, man and boat against the raw power of nature. Out here, your boat is your entire world, a self-contained life support system. When a critical piece of that system fails, it's a major blow. My heart sank when I realized the refrigerator had stopped working. The gentle hum of the compressor, a constant background noise of life at sea, had fallen silent. In a house on land, a broken fridge is an inconvenience. Hundreds of miles from shore, it's a disaster. All of my perishable food, the precious meat, cheese, and milk I had carefully provisioned in Cape Town, was now on a countdown to ruin. The loss of fresh food is a huge hit to morale on a long solo voyage. I immediately went into problem-solving mode. You can't just call a repairman out here, you are the repairman. I dug out the instruction manual for the compressor, a booklet of technical drawings and troubleshooting charts that suddenly felt like the most important document on the planet. I followed the diagnostic steps one by one, checking fuses, testing wires, and trying to identify the source of the failure. The compressor unit itself was burning hot to the touch. A quick look at the temperature gauge confirmed my fears. It was reading 70 degrees Celsius. Instead of cooling, it was actively heating up. This was a bad sign, likely indicating a catastrophic internal failure. Despite my best efforts, the situation was hopeless. I tried every trick I knew, but the compressor was dead. There was no bringing it back to life with the tools and spare parts I had on board. I had to face the cold reality. My fresh food was gone. It was a gut-wrenching moment. I made the difficult decision to have a final feast of the items that would spoil the fastest, then prepare to ditch the rest. The psychological impact was significant. It meant my diet for the rest of the trip to St. Helena, and possibly beyond, would be reduced to canned goods, dried foods, and whatever I could grow in my sprouting jars. This kind of setback is a true test of a sailor's resilience. It's easy to get discouraged, to let the frustration and disappointment overwhelm you, but you have to adapt and overcome. Giving up is not an option. I accepted the loss, cleaned out the now useless refrigerator, and reevaluated my food stores. The journey would be less comfortable, the meals less varied, but it was still possible. This is the reality of solo adventuring. You plan for every contingency, but the ocean always has a new way to challenge you. The key is to take the hit, get back up, and keep sailing forward. The mission remains the same. Amidst the challenges of storms and equipment failures, there are moments of pure, unadulterated triumph. One such milestone occurred as I sailed onwards, ever northwards. I was keenly watching my GPS coordinates, waiting for a very specific number to appear on the screen. The moment came with a quiet beep from the navigation equipment. The longitude reading ticked over from 0 degrees, 0.001 minutes east to 0 degrees, 0.000 minutes, and then to 0 degrees, 0.001 minutes west. I had reached the prime meridian, the 0-degree longitude line that divides the globe into the eastern and western hemispheres. For the first time in a very long time, after sailing across the Indian Ocean and around the Cape of Good Hope, I was officially back in the Western Hemisphere. This imaginary line running from the North Pole to the South Pole through Greenwich, England, holds a huge amount of significance for any global navigator. It's the baseline for all our charting and timekeeping. Crossing it feels like passing through a gateway. It's a tangible mark of progress on a massive scale. I had spent months in the Eastern Hemisphere, and now I was leaving it behind. I stood on the deck of White Shadow, alone in the middle of the ocean, and raised a small toast to the moment. There was no land in sight, no one to share it with, but it was a profoundly satisfying achievement. It was a victory measured not in speed or distance, but in global position. The change had a practical effect on my navigation. From this point forward, all my longitude readings would be counted in degrees west, a constant reminder that I was now on the home side of the world map, relative to my starting point in the United Kingdom. It mentally shortens the remaining journey, even though thousands of miles of ocean still lay ahead. These psychological boosts are incredibly important for maintaining morale during a long solo passage. They break the immense journey down into manageable chunks and provide a sense of accomplishment that fuels your determination to keep going, to push through the fatigue and the solitude. Crossing the prime meridian was more than just a navigational event, it was a symbolic step forward. It represented leaving the challenges of the Indian Ocean and the southern tip of Africa behind me. It was the start of the final major ocean crossing of my circumnavigation, the Atlantic. Every degree of longitude I now clicked off to the west was a degree closer to completing the circle. The feeling was one of immense pride and forward momentum. The past was in my wake, in the Eastern Hemisphere. The future and the completion of my epic voyage lay ahead in the west. Daily life at sea settles into a unique and steady rhythm, a routine dictated by the wind, the waves, and the essential tasks of survival. The glamour of sailing is tempered by the reality of chores. One of my most frequent tasks was washing the dishes. There's no dishwasher out here. just a bucket and the ocean itself. I would carefully gather my plates and cutlery and head to the stern of the boat. Kneeling on the swim platform, I'd scrub them clean in salt water, using a long-handled brush to avoid losing anything to the deep. It's a simple, humbling task, but watching the soap suds trail away in the boat's wake, you feel a direct connection to the vast wilderness around you. Cooking is another central part of the day, a crucial element for both physical energy and mental morale, especially after the fridge failed. My diet shifted to a reliance on long-lasting staples. I became quite adept at creating meals from canned fish, lentils, rice, and pasta. One of my secret weapons for nutrition and freshness was my sprouting jar. I was constantly growing fresh mung bean and alfalfa sprouts on the galley shelf. Watching these tiny seeds burst into life was a small miracle each day, providing a welcome crunch and a dose of vitamins that you desperately crave when fresh vegetables are a distant memory. The simple act of creating a warm meal can lift your spirits immensely. The cockpit, my command center, had to be adapted for the rough seas. To keep myself and my critical navigation instruments dry from the constant spray and occasional wave that would break over the side, I engineered a simple but effective wave break. It was just a piece of canvas stretched across the companionway entrance, but it made a world of difference. It allowed me to sit in the relative shelter of the cockpit, writing in my logbook or reading a book during quieter moments without getting constantly soaked. Staying dry is a constant battle at sea, and it's fundamental to staying warm and avoiding exhaustion. Between the chores, the navigating, and the sailing, there were quiet hours to fill. I spent a lot of time reading, losing myself in stories that transported me even further from my isolated reality. I also wrote extensively, documenting my thoughts, feelings, and the daily events of the journey. This process of writing is a form of self-reflection. It helps you process the experience and make sense of the intense emotions that come with solo sailing. It's a conversation with yourself, a way to combat the profound solitude. This simple, structured routine of chores, cooking, reading, and writing becomes the scaffolding that supports you through the long days and nights alone at sea. The numbers on the GPS were beginning to tell an exciting story. I was getting close. Another significant milestone appeared on the horizon of my chart plotter, the 5-degree west longitude line. This wasn't just any line of longitude. For me, it was the finish line of my circumnavigation. I had departed from Falmouth, United Kingdom, which sits at 5 degrees west. By crossing that same line of longitude here in the South Atlantic, I would have officially, technically, circled the globe. The thought sent a shiver of pure adrenaline and pride through me. I calculated I would cross it in the early hours of the morning, just before my final approach to St. Helena. The feeling of nearing the completion of such a monumental goal is almost indescribable. Years of planning, saving, and hard work, followed by months of intense, challenging sailing, were all about to culminate in this single moment. To have sailed around the entire planet, powered mostly by the wind, through storms and calms, across vast, empty oceans, it's a dream that few get to realize. A deep sense of accomplishment began to swell within me. It wasn't about breaking records or being the first. It was a deeply personal victory, a testament to endurance, resilience, and the spirit of adventure. I had faced down my fears and pushed through the hardships, and the reward was now almost within my grasp. As the final day of the passage dawned, my estimated time of arrival for St. Helena was sometime before midday. The anticipation was electric. After days of seeing nothing but an empty horizon of sea and sky, the hunt for land began. I was constantly scanning the horizon, my eyes straining for that first faint smudge that would signal my destination. The final few miles of any long passage are always the sweetest. You can almost taste the land, smell the earth, and vegetation on the wind. The knowledge that a solid, unmoving piece of ground is near, where you can walk without bracing and sleep without the constant motion, is a powerful motivator. Then, I saw it. A dark, jagged shape rising out of the morning haze. St. Helena. The island I had dreamed of for so long was no longer an abstract concept on a chart. It was real, solid, and magnificent. A wave of emotion washed over me. Pride, relief, and sheer, unadulterated joy. I had done it. I had navigated my small boat, White Shadow, solo across this huge stretch of the South Atlantic. As I sailed closer, the details of the volcanic cliffs and green valleys became clearer. The journey had been tough, testing me in ways I couldn't have imagined, but standing on the deck, looking at my hard-won prize, I knew every single second of it had been worth it. I was ready to drop anchor and step ashore.